Good morning to everybody. So today MMPC 001, social processes and behavior issues. Today we have to discuss the third block, which is the block number 3. Uh, Actually, the balance the last time we have left out some of the unit number 7, the motivations. So first I will try to explain the unit number 7 to cover up the unit number 7, motivation. It is a part of your block 2. Then we will proceed for the block 3 portions. So here actually I have to have motivation, why it is required in the industry, in the organizations. So try to understand the definition of the motivations. So motivation is the process of inducing the persons to experience needs for the certain desired behavior so that the organizational efficiency is achieved. So we require some of the basic behaviors, and because suppose the employee are in the job, when he is performing his tasks, so definitely some behavioral patterns should be there, expected. But when the employees are in the meeting, suppose some of the employees are in the meeting, so some expectation will be there, what type of behavior is required. If it is not up to the mark or up to the desired values, then definitely the motivation is required. So that's why certain desired behavior is required to increase the organizational efficiency. So motivation, other way we can say the motivation is the product of the anticipated values from an actions and the perceived probability that these values will be achieved by the action. So many ways you can define the motivations. Motivation causes goal-directed behavior. Feeling of a need by the person causes him to behave in such a way that he tries to satisfy himself so that he does not feel to the particular thing. So another concept of the motivations, the 5 human needs that is placed in the hierarchical, as we know, the Maslow, that is the need of the humans, and it is also a motivation also. So psychological, physiologicals, then your safety, security, then social, then self-esteem, and the self-actualizations. So this concept is based on the assumption of the internal motivation. Now the motivation is required where? Motivation is required for everybody. Supervisory levels and the managerial levels, all the levels, it is need for the motivations. So normally it is an assumption, people are thinking the workers should be motivated and labor force should be motivated, they are reluctant to work, they are going for the strike, but it is not like this only, it is required for the managers also and the top level managers also. So all the levels motivation is required. So managers primarily function to see the persons under them work most efficiently. So that is the prime duty for the managers. First of all, you have to see, yes, persons are working, which are under the subordinates are working. What are the tasks he has given as assigned to him? He is performing. In the end of the day, it has he has done everything according with it. But now the question is, if it is not, then the motivation is definitely required. So that's why the interaction is required, is to communicate, to understand their problems. The man as a manager, his role is this, and if necessary, they can take the advice of the personal or the industrial psychologist. If you feel okay, you can call some of the industrial psychologists to please counseling and or any personal problems, give us an advice. So it is a duty of a manager. So type of motivations. There's the intrinsic type. Motivation is related to the job one is doing, and your extrinsic side motivations is external to the job or task. So for example, the financial incentives for the doing a job well or the productions may motivate the workers. So if you, apart from the salaries, if you declare, okay, this month our productions are up to the mark, and it is that some 10%, 50% increase the productivity, so we can give some incentives to all the workers, all the managers, some things. So it is some sort of motivations for the workers. Determinant. What are the determinants? That individual to know what can motivate the employees individually. But organizational components are the organizational structures, the technological system, physical facilities, which constitute the internal environment of an organization's motivations. It means organizational component basically, suppose the employee are working, some of the sitting arrangement is very good. Latest computers, laser mouse, effortless work, AC environment, soundless. So all total in a hygienic condition. I mean, so that maybe the toilet is very good, canteen, cafeteria area is also good. So all these things are create some of the motivation. So organizational structures, facilities, physical facilities, okay, restroom is there. If you feel something, you can go to the restroom. Good hall is there, conference room is very good, comfortably they can discuss, soundproof. So no noise level is not there. So I think everything are affecting the motivation. So external and endogenous variables, endogenous variables. The worker's life outside the factory also, that is also important, because okay, office environment is good, but when you reach in the after the office, when you reach in the house, maybe the house condition is not good. Maybe yes, apart from the journey, maybe his reaching his home is maybe 1 or 2 hour journey. So by the time he has fatigue and taking the dinner, and again in the morning, again the same journey period. So, and not only that, apart from these, what type of neighbors, where he is staying, and their cultures, everything will affect the motivation also. So all these things are affecting the willingness of the work inside the factory. Because if you are fresh mind, you are staying in a good environment, you're homely, I mean the home emotional atmosphere is also good, the neighbor is good, your friend circle is good, so definitely it will affect in your in the service also. So characteristics. Now we have to motivation, we have to characteristics the motivations. Individual different in their motivations. Motivation is highly situational, because in which situations, what type of motivation is required, that is dependable. I mean, not predictable. So it's very difficult task to motivate the things. So that's why the motivation is very complex. So different people will have different type of demands. Level of satisfaction is also different. Specific action to the motivate others. So some of the actions, motivation actions has to be taken. What are the things? That the managerial actions. In general, it can take 4 forms. There are 4 forms. Provide more of the value delivered to the person. That is important, because until and unless you are valued the persons, you will not be motivated. Change the values of the persons towards the rewards which are developed. So some of the rewards are very important. Improve the person's perceptions of the behavior and reward linkages. So reward based on, suppose you can declare, some of these organizations also, they are in the multinational companies, they have declared best executive of the year. Means throughout the year he has done very perfectly all the works. He has behaved nicely to everybody. There's no conflict, no argument. So that means he has to be rewarded in some sort of maybe in terms of money or in terms of some of the gift or token of. So everything has to be given or can arrange some of the meetings and declare the things. Yes, he is the best executive of this company for this year. It will motivate to the others also. Those who are looking, those who are not getting this type this year, they may try for the next year. So competitions and competitive mind will be there. So motivation some way it is a future actions. So that's why it is some specific action has to be taken by the to motivate the others. Improve the reality of the behavior reward packages, and it has to be improved. Some maybe earlier was there that there's a reward is there. The linkage has to be maybe the monetary amount may be increased, or maybe the other way it has to be presented. Motivation of workers. Now, how to motivate the workers? The top managers of a company must possess a high need for power. There is a concern for the influencing the people. So top management involvement is very much needed. They have to interact with the workers and subordinates. Manager concerned with the developing the friendly relationships. Means as a manager, you have to develop your relationship with the workers. Managers must delegate the authority through influences of the through persuasions. You have to give some authority, not only the instructions. At the same time, yes, it is your job. You are responsible for that type of realizations has to be and give us some space. Yes, you do it as per your own. You have to think about it. You can put your idea. You can decision maker. So that is the way you have to give some delegation. Some authority has to be given. You have to delegate some of your authorities. All the time, she does not need for your instructions. He can do his own way. That type of build up is required. So a good manager should reward the workers for their good performance. So as a good manager, you have to as soon as possible when he has performed some of the good job. So don't delay it. Immediately you have to declare it. Yes, it's a good job and performance. So effective managers in their effort to influence the subordinates to get work done express their strong power needs in democratic people oriented ways. Motives and the managerial behaviors. The top managers of a company must possess a high concern of the influencing people and commensurate the authorities. However, this need must be disciplined and controlled so that it directed towards the benefit of the instructions as a whole and not toward the manager's personal benefits. Moreover, the top manager's need for the power ought to be greater than his or her need for being the linked by the people. Now, I like to discuss with some of the block 3. That is the interpersonals and the group process, where there are 3 units, unit number 8, 9, and 10. Unit number 8 is the group dynamics and the team building. Unit 9 is the conflict and the negotiation stages, and unit 10 is the job stages. So I will just now focus on the unit number 8 and 9. Unit number 8, it is the detailing. I think what are the contents of the particular this unit. That is introduction, then the concept of the nature of the group, stages of the group development, then determinants of the your group product, then teams, nature of the types, what type of teams, effective team building, then your problems affecting the team attitudes. So all these things are. Let's see one by one slides and try to understand. There are various definitions of group that can be stated as follows. That is according to the Haram 2005, page number 478. He has written, a group is made up of persons, more than 2, which is who communicate regularly, share the goals, and interact with each other over time. So building of the effective bonds. So here actually the things are group leaders or group or the persons. They have to interact at least daily basis, regularly. Here the emphasis is there to communicate regularly, share the goals, and interact each other over the time. So these three things are very much required uh, to understand basically the group. This is the group basically. Just form a group, but there is no, the group is there by name itself, but by the sake of name, but there is no communication. You cannot say it's a group. So, and they're not sharing their objectives, what to do. They're not sharing their awareness or any no interactions. It's totally blank. So it's not called as a group. So groups are of the extreme importance in the organizational setup, mainly because the larger goals of the organization. Because why it is and to emphasize this word extreme importance, because individual cannot do the work. He can perform his individual work, but that's not sufficient to fulfill the objectives of the company. So to run the company, to fulfill the objectives, we have to have a good team, good groups, and all the group members has to be participated. Now the stages of the group development. Any group, whether the formal or the informal, will go through the stages of the group development. So there are 5 stages that we have to discuss one by one. There's the model, and this is by the Bruce Trackman. Yeah, is discuss the different stages, and this model is the only the first thing is your forming. So this is the initial stage, forming stage, when you are making a group. So first things you have to form the groups. At that time, you have to focus on the behavioral focus. Members effort to define and some agreement among the members of the to be done. So initially, there will be a lot of silent mode. Maybe people are not outcomes their ideas. So this is the way you have to see the some of the formation should be there, where the behavioral issues, some of the agreement should be there. Now this storming is the second phase. Things get serious in the storming stage because the stages is characterized by the conflict that the members may include in is as there are power struggles between them. Somebody is saying, no, I should be a good leader. My knowledge is good. I have enough experiences. Somebody is saying, no, I should be a secretary. I'm a secretary. Some of the sayings, no, I should be a cultural managers. But different actually. What I am saying, any formation, some objectives with some for society formations, or maybe the projecting preparations. You have to form some project. So project leaders should be there, assistant project leaders should be there, or maybe some of the subordinates. So different role has to be defined, or with some objectives. So that time, lot of conflicts will be there because lot of egos and they don't know their others' capabilities. They are not know. So that is a very tough and challenging part, strong part. Then not be. So after when the formation and your storming part is over, now next is coming is norming. So during that stage, there is an increased clarity because some lot of clarity will be there, the role and the responsibility of the group members. Okay, by the discussion only, yes, you're knowledgeable. Then he has realized, no, what I am, maybe other is more knowledgeable, so he's be definitely he will be at that post. And so slowly he is convincing himself also. Yes, realization. That is on the realizations part. So finally they have some sharing their information. By these things, you can see a sense of shared responsibilities. So in this stage, in the norming stage, lot of sharing the responsibilities will be there. Then finally, the forming stage. At this stage is denoted by the visions of the as clear. Now everybody have a clear visions because they have know what are the objectives. The sense of responsibility has already shared. To some extent they have agreed also. Like some agreement is also. So there is a clarity regarding the purpose of the group and how to effectively and efficiently the group is able to perform its tasks. So this is another stage, that is the performance stages. Now adjournments. The fifth stage, last stage we can see. In this stage, the task is accomplished. The task is accomplished, and thus the group can now adjourn and move on to the other task. In this case, yes, group lead as a group, they have done their jobs perfectly and they are happy enough. And now chapter is closed. Now they can forget. The project is also completed. Now that group, now they have to move for the other projects. So other tasks. So this is the way there are 5 forming. Then you can see the functioning stage. Then after that your storming stage, then norming, performing, and adjournments. Now see the group size. Now group size is important because you see the group size denotes the number of groups. How many groups are there? It may be 2 groups, 3 groups, or 5 groups. Depending on the different projects, you have 2 different groups. Or other way, you can say there's some marketing groups, or they are HR groups, or maybe they are the production group. That is also you can see. And when in particular in the project, that all the groups are required. Financial group is also required. They have to follow all the financial matters. Marketing groups also there. So that's why the group size denotes the number of the groups. Group compositions. Now within the group, the composition will be there: 1 manager, 2 subordinate, 2 assistant, 2 engineer, 1 field engineer. So this is the way the composition will be there. Then maybe there are 6 persons are there, particularly in group. So what are the compositions? That's one should be group leader, 1 manager, 1 subordinate. So this is the way this is. So everything can be impact on the productivity also. So group norms, some norms should be there. This is another aspect of the group productivity. Then group cohesiveness, where cohesiveness togetherly, they have to discuss and they have to return so that there should not be any reduce the conflict, there should not be any conflict, no ego. So group cohesiveness are very much required for the group productivity. Group leaderships. So besides the above the factors, the group leaderships also play important role for the group. So here we are just discussing about the group dynamics, and first we have to try to understand what are the groups, how to make the groups, and what then after that size, composition, norms, cohesiveness, and leaderships. Now, then various type of your teams. So various type of the teams, where the work teams, then the cross-functional teams, top management teams, process improvement teams, project teams, self-managed teams, virtual teams, quality circles. There are so many teams are there, different type of teams. Because some of the teams are assigned to particular perform these jobs. Project teams is different. Self-managed teams, they are controlling. So quality circles, another, they have to time to them, they have to discuss every evening. They have to what is there going on, if any loopholes, if any shortfalls, they have to give solutions also why it has not happened. So different teams are different your purposes. Effective team building. Now we have to how to build the effective teams. Team building is a simple terms can be described as activities that mainly involve the building and improving performance. So basically team building are increase the or improving the team performance. So that this is the some of the components or some of the determinants. We can say that the team size. We have to see the team size. That's the main thing. Composition of the team. Here actually we are talking about the effectiveness. How to create the team building and to improve their effectiveness. Effective team building, how to make it. So we have to focus on this aspect, all this, team size. Then the composition of the team is important. I mean that means here how many persons and what is the loaded. I mean leaders, team leaders, then your managers, subordinates, workers. So all type of or finance managers or marketing managers. So everything are compositions, different purposes. Goals need to be specific and clear. Now, particularly this team, when you are making the team, keeping on view of the objectives, that should be clear. That this is the specific jobs. This is the specific work to be completed. Team cohesiveness. As usual, there should not be any conflict. Everybody have a agreed mind, share their informations, and forget about the levels, which levels you are. When you are in the team, you are as a team members. You are not a okay. By virtue of the company making the team, there are so many deviation and demarcation is there. But when you are team, so you have to give your full strength as a team member. So management of diversity, because there are different categories of people are there, because the manager is also the worker is also there. So that diversity, maintaining the diversity is very important. There should not be any ambiguities or any conflict. So very carefully and very sensitive way you have to manage the thing. So that there should not be any creation of any conflict. There should not be any nobody has to be creator of the problems. So that's why you have to manage that diversity also. Always a brotherhood natures, behavioral, technologically sharing the informations, so to manage. Promoting trust among the team. That is also important. So you have to believe to trust in as just like for example the football team. When in the forward line, when they pass the ball, particular ball, he believes that he can shoot the net itself. When he has space, okay. So that sharing, by sharing himself, that up to the net, up to the goal is there, within this box, that ball should be thrown. So that is the sharing, the team members among the trust. So I believe if I pass on this him, particular this ball, particular player, my colleagues, he definitely will be perform the things. So leadership is also important. Training as usual, and management of the conflict. So what are the conflicts? If some management conflict is there, that has to be the solution should be there. So to manage the conflict also. So if all these things are focused, then we can say he is a effective team builder. So otherwise we can say the question may come, what are the characteristics or what are the criteria for effective team building? What are the criteria? So you can say that the team size, composition of the team, goal needed, team cause, all these parameters are required for effective team building. Now problems affecting the teamwork. What are the problems are affecting the teamwork? That also we should keep in mind. So team building in simple terms can be described as activities that mainly involve the building and the improving the team performance. So changes in the team compositions. Sometimes it may be create a problem. Suppose the composition of changes. Means suppose earlier there are two subordinates. Now you are putting a three subordinates. Or maybe one field engineers. Now you are replacing by the two field engineers. So that is the way your composition or the responsibility also have changed. Maybe reshuffle the things. So that changes, that type of compositions may affect, may or be, or otherwise it may be good also. So some benchmark should be fixed. So interpersonal relationship between the team member, that is also important, because that is if the interpersonal relation is not good, so trust will not be there. So everybody will be take his credit their own way. There is a team spirit lost. So interpersonal relations is very important for the teamwork. That is one of the problems areas which are affecting the team. Communication related issues, that is also very vital, because if the communication is not perfectly done, then the masses are not conveyed, information are not conveyed. So there are some of the reluctant, or maybe the awareness, what is the actually the job to be done. So that is the lagging. These are basically the lagging of this part. So communication is one of the big issues. Social offense, then lot of problems are there. Ineffective role ambiguity, so lack of trust between the members, domination by the one member to others, lack of motivation and the moral. So all factors, disagreements among the members. So all these factors, or the reasons you can say, create a problem. So I have to take care, have to focus as a manager, as a team builders, or the top management should take care of all these areas before making the team building. Now conflict is another issue, conflict and the negotiation stages. Because you see, by the phenomena, because by virtue of tendencies, the conflict will be there. You cannot reduce the conflict 100%. Only you can monitor the conflict, or you can, some extent, you can reduce the conflict. So, into the defining the conflict types and the levels of sources of conflict, effect of the conflict, then prevention, how to prevent the conflict. Then, if conflict is there, how to negotiate the things. You have to give some solutions and take some decisions on this of this. The process of negotiation, there are processes there. So all these things are you have to discuss in unit number 9. The type of bargaining, what the way you can bargain, the strategies, individual differences, then situational factors, ethics and the negotiations, third-party negotiations. Some within the organizations, nobody is there, is not expert to negotiate. Then in that case, you have to hire some of the consultant, or maybe some third-party negotiation parts. Gandhi's approach, conflict resolution, and avoiding the common mistakes. Then these things. So now conflict. Now try to understand what is the conflict. It is the nature of disagreement among the individuals or the groups. So groups that differ in attitudes, beliefs, values, or needs, it has both positive and negative sides. Because sometimes the conflict, why it is positive sides? Because during the conflict, you see a lot of ideas, lot of individuals, individuals' ideas are floating. So it is a floating lot of things, showering the things at the time of conflicting areas. So out of that, if somebody will be observer, then they can pick up some of the ideas, because maybe the idea is very good, but he has not convincing the others. He has not not sufficient power to convince the others. Nobody is realizing his ideas other way. So somebody has to as a judge, picked up this idea. So that's why it is a positive. Sometimes within the conflict, lot of outcomes will come, lot of alternatives can be generated, and you have to take it as the best ones. Negative side is if this is prolonged, some of the conflict is very prolonged, there is no solution. Everybody are different ideas, so there's no ideas are matching each other's, then it is a very negative aspect. Argument will be there, the conflict cannot be end up. So conflicts can also arise due to competitions also. Differences in values, attitudes, experiences, goals, there are various views about the conflicts. What are the views? That is traditional views are there. Then behavioral issues, views, and interactions views. So that you have to see different views. Various level of conflict and their types. So conflict within the individuals, maybe conflict between the individuals, conflict between the individual and the group, and conflict between groups within the organizations. There are so many groups. Suppose group number A and group number B are conflict. They are not in a negotiating stages. Meeting is going on, but still debate is going on. There is no solutions. So conflict between the organizations also, organization to organizations also. So there are various level of conflicts. Individuals within the, suppose as a human, I am thinking some positive and negative. It's fighting in my mind. Because of that, the stress level is increased. That welcoming the stress level also. So conflict are within the individual also in their mind. Shall I do this work or not? Shall I deny or not? Or shall I involve this work or not? So a lot of question marks coming in my mind. So this is a individual conflict. Sometimes we are conflicting every time. Conflict between the individuals, right? Some of the ideas or ideology is different. His idea is also different. Maybe the 180-degree differences, sometimes 90-degree, well, sometimes it is similar. So different way you can see the different various levels. Source of conflict. Now it is important because you see now first you have to as a negotiators or as a arbitrators, first things he has to try to understand where the root cause, why this conflict has arisen, and then after that he is step by step starting to scrutinize and across the table is discuss, and finally he is giving some solutions. So those who are expert on this field, they are initially focused on the sources of the conflict, why it has happened, who are the culprits, who has said this, why this. So this is the way. There are some logics are there. So competition for the limited resources. That is one of the conflict reasons. Diversity of the goals. Diversity. So this is another, because different people are coming, different type of jobs, nature, behavior patterns also change. So diversity is one of the very biggest challenges. So conflict are coming from the distance. Task interdependency. So the work is there. There's a no. You are not prepared for this interdependency. You have to. So always you have to depend on some of the others. So because of this, the conflict will start. Because there is no proper training is there. The persons are not trained at all. So that is the things are there. Three types of interdependencies can be issued: the intergroup conflict, pooled, and sequential, and reciprocal. So there are three types of interdependency part is there. Pooled interdependency. If one independent group perform poorly, all other groups may suffer the financially. So that is also say in the pooled interdependency. Means suppose for example, in production teams, they have quality is very good, they are protected, and at the time they have delivered everything, and it has reached in the warehouse also. Truck has loaded everything, all the warehouses are full, and but problem is marketing teams. Marketing teams are not attract the customers so well as expected, even though the product is very good. That there is a no campusing, or I mean advertising is not there, or maybe some loopholes, some of the problems by the many marketing teams. That's why the sale has reduced. What happened? So because of this particular marketing team, other teams, production teams, finance, engineering team, all teams are affected. Because only one group of uh, team, on one group not performing well poorly, because of the other groups may suffer financially. So that is actually I'm giving some of the small examples. So this is the basically say the pooled interdependence. So all the groups has to be performed as a pool basis. So there should not be any problems or the your channels, or rather I can say there are some, all the channels are to be performed in India respectively. So that if the particular one group, one channel has failed, that is a cascading effect. So it is a cascading effect, everybody will be suffers. So another example is given it, the TM is the transmission distribution losses is high, because sometimes because of the fault meter is not, a building system is not good. So because of that, the losses are increased. So overall revenue are not generating because the meter is faulty. So electricity board, they are not rectifying the meters. So customer is drawing the energy, but meter is faulty because of the billing are very less. So whatever he is consuming the electricity because of the faulty meter, he have to give in some average revenues. So it is a loss of the company. So only the particular team, those who are troubleshooters or the meter checking or meter teams, that teams are not performed well. Because of that, the transmission distribution losses are increased because of the faulty meters. The revenue generations are low. This is one of the examples. In the power utilities. Sources of conflict. Now, sequential interdependency, reciprocal interdependency means the occurs when the group performance depends on the others. So this is a sequential, because one by one. If something is in the conveyor belt, when is the conveyor in the things? Suppose, for example, the car, Maruti car. So everything is assembled one by one. First things, then headlights, nut bolts, then finally the tower. Then it will be go to the warehouse and load it in the. So everything are in a sequence. So one job is finished, other will start. Painting normally in the last, because before that. So everything are in a sequential basis. Reciprocal interdependencies. So occurs when two or more groups are mutually interdependent in the your accomplishing their tasks. There is a reciprocal interdependencies. So differences in values and the perfections. A lot of conflict is generated within the organizations, because various groups within the organizations hold the conflict values and they perceive the situations in a narrow and the individualistic manners. So management and labor conflict is a well-known example, basically, because all the time the unions are involved, the management and labor conflict always there. Maybe in the bonus, scarcia, lot of problems are there. Then organizational ambiguities, because maybe the pay structure is not same, maybe particularly the unit are not performing well, their productivity is less. So over a new responsibility, because there are a lot of other also there, so a lot of things are there for the reason for the conflict. Then suppose for the introduction of the changes, new technology is coming on, so intergroup conflict will start, competition will start, and then because of that another stress. Stress is also one of the source of conflict. Nature of communication. One of the major fallacies about the conflict is that the poor communications, because as we have already discussed, the poor communication, because of that also uh, conflict will start. Because uh, interpretations will be different. Because if the communication is not correctly conveyed, what are the messages? Maybe your subordinate will not understand the things, and he has done in other words, in spite of you are saying some of the things. But that time, because of the miscommunications, it has happened also. Maybe you are putting some of the draft in your boss, the table. Boss is immediately shouting, "What is that? I have not given this type of work. Why you have written?" So that means somewhere something the communication was not correctly, boss has not instructed correctly, or maybe the subordinate is not listening properly due to fear or something. Okay, sir. Okay, I'll do it, but he has not understand clearly. When that is a wastage of time, stress will build up because of that. So aggressive nature of the people, that is also important. So conflict, so many ways are there, sources are there. Now effect. What are the effects of the conflict? So as a result of intergroup conflict, some changes may occur. That the group cohesiveness increases. Here actually some of the things are in a positive way, because effects of the conflict. So if the conflict is there, so slowly when you are conflicting, when you are going to somebody, and finally after sometimes you may realize, okay, you are right or wrong. Somebody has to surrender, and other will be win. Somebody will win, somebody will be losers. But one needs closely need to establish, because some cohesive increases will be increased. Because as a team, conflict will be there. That's why I'm telling you the conflict will be there. It is true also. But after some times, maybe everybody will realize, come to the particular point, yes, it's correct. So that's why the group cohesiveness is increases. Group becomes task oriented, because okay, no problem. Initially, maybe my idea was not clear. I'm not convinced. Now I am convinced, and it is okay. Okay, go ahead. So everybody will. So task oriented leadership becomes more courageous, because as a group becomes more tasks. So leadership is very important. That is also it will affect in the conflict. Then organizational structure becomes more rigid, because authority and the responsibility is also important. The relationships among the members, between the members, more clearly defined. Group unity is stressed. So the group depends increasing the loyalty and the conformity of the members. So all are the effects of the your conflict. And then you have to take some of these strategies also, because some based on this, you have to take some strategies also. So effect of conflict, the group become antagonist towards the things, perceptions and the distorted communication cases to exit, group apply to the double standards. So all are the effect of the conflicts. Then the conflict clarifies the real issues, because if the conflict is there in the end of the day or end of the sessions, end of the meetings, you can say some of the real issues will be there, and it will be report can be generated. So conflict increases the innovation also, because you see the here innovation what is there means, that's why I'm saying lot of alternatives, lot of ideas can be generated. So intergroup conflict solidifies the proof, because slowly when it was not in a liquid form, there is no solid decision was not there. Everybody are in a fickle mind. What is it do? What to do? They are not aimless. So finally, intergroup conflicts slowly till solidifies, means concrete. This is some concrete sense. Yes, everybody has to agree and peace. So conflicts serve as a arthritis, means your ethics, like basically the ethics. Conflict solutions, resolution solidifies intergroup relationships also. Now you see here some of the model I am saying. For starts, your model conflict resolutions model are given. This is a 5-stage conflict resolutions model. The first is escalations, then your de-escalations, then the resolutions, and the routine proof interactions, finally the disagreement, and finally the confirmations. And it is a cycle. That is the way it is going on. Other way, I can say there is some of the some competitions are there, and there is some collaborating way. Finally, there is a competitions. Then finally, you have to collaborate the things. You see the both the color of the arrow are showing means some negotiation part of compromising. So after these compromisations, now they are collaboratively they have to bring these things. So ideas may be different. Ideally, maybe one is degree opposite, but slowly now it is in the same directions. Now they have to merge it or collaborate it. Avoiding some of the things are there is a assertive type and that is a unassertive type because it can't be same. Can be collaborative. Collaborations can not possible. So in this case, you see there are avoiding tendency. There is no compromisations, no compromisations. So finally, what happened? He is also going in his directions, and other person is also in other direction. So directions are there are two directions instead of it should be a one directions, but now. So accommodating, but now in this case is an accommodating cases because it's not a collaborating stage; it's an accommodating stage. So. Contingency should be there. The study collaboration, bargaining, and the power play are important. Stimulation, the production conflict, confrontation strategies, problem solving, and organization redesigning. So there are problem solving. The problem solving is an attempt to find the solutions that reconciles or the integrated the need of the both parties who work together to define the problems and to identify the mutually satisfying solution. That is the problem solving part. In problem solving, there is an open expression of the feelings as well as the exchange of tasks and related organizational redesign because redesigning or restructuring the organizations can be effective intergroup conflict. When the intergroup conflict is there, so you can restructuring these levels and all these things. So that is the way you can reduce the things. Some sort of strategy is given. Negotiation, how to negotiate the things. So all negotiations share the same four common areas. The parties involved are the same interdependent. Parties are in the conflict over goal and the processes. Parties involved are motivated and capable of the influencing one another, and parties believe they can reach an agreement. So there's a basic philosophy of the negotiations. Now see the process. So process of reaching an mutual agreement by the two or more parties is called the negotiations. When two or more parties are mutually in agreements, then we can say it's a negotiations. So a lot of research papers are there. They are saying the negotiate as a negotiator, they develop the thoughts. There are different thought processes are there. Different school of research, school of thoughts are given. The four elements came into pictures. The four different stages are there in the negotiations. What are the stages? So there are first things investigations and the preparations. First, you have to before start the negotiation process, you have to uh, investigate the things. Then after that, what are the investigation part report? Then you have to make a preparations. Because and the police, you see, when they are inquiring, then he has a put the charge sheet. Because first thing is investigation part. Then after that, they have put some in the court. Any criminal activities they are putting in that preparation part is there. The case may be defined maybe 100 pages or 200 pages, 3 pages. So preparation is there because what are the factuals, the investigations, that part is. Similarly, in the conflict, when the company within the particular group, the conflict has happened. So how to analyze this? So this is the process before negotiation. That's the negotiation process. First you have to negotiate, investigate the things, then preparations. Then after that is bargaining. You have to sit together, both the parties, both the groups, what happened, why it has happened. Then maybe some of the bargaining process will be there. Why it has not agreement, why it has not agreed. So both the parties' viewpoint has to be taken care. Then finally, you have to agreement. So finally, you have to make an agreement. This is the way, the style of negotiation process. There are so many other bargaining processes are there. There's some of the party A and party B is there. That finally, suppose the party A have some different agenda points. Maybe there are 10 points are there. There are issues. And then party B, they are having also 10 agenda points. But it's the different. The color is different. Maybe it's the green color, is the yellow color. So there is different viewpoint. They have a different agenda points. Maybe it is the opposition party or the ruling party, whatever the way. So in the organizations also there are two groups, maybe management, maybe workers, or maybe the within the group, intergroup, any things. The bargaining process are important. So there is the zone is bargaining zone. Maybe some of the issues are common, it's agreeable. But here actually some of the things are resistance. So that is a point, resistance. Particular this party B is resistance point, and it is a party resistance point. So after that, they are not moving each other. Maybe here the things are moving. Particular zones is not negotiating properly. So that is the zone of the bargaining zone where the real problems are arise. So some gender differences in the negotiations process, it has been seen that women can be better, they can cooperate it, and because of this pleasant view or the way they are presenting. So sometimes they are good negotiator. It has been there than a man. So women can be negotiated properly. It has been not everybody not agreed. Worldwide is not agreed, but most of the cases that are seen, if the negotiator is woman, he can some of the bargaining process, it will be very easy. So cultural negotiations also there. Sometimes the summation of the exchanges, interaction of the communication, culture, part of it. Third party negotiations also there. There are some mediators there. So mediators are very third persons, not associated with the any. He is not a particular any parties, not A party or B party. So he is just like a neutral. So who facilitate because why the third party? Because they should not bias to any others. So in a very real judgment should be there. So suggestion, what are the alternatives will be there. It is more fair. So mediators are mostly used to labor management negotiations in the civil court disputes, like this. So arbitrator is another thing. Arbitrator is a third party consisting the authority dictate. But in this case, mediator is only giving some suggestions. But arbitrator can give you some dictate. He can give you some voluntary result, requesting the parties, compulsory the arbitrators. Enforce the law of the tribunals. Arbitrators has a power to instruct the things. So any parties has to be followed, has to be obey the arbitrators things. Otherwise, it will be big penalties. So effectiveness or success will be So I think most of the things I have covered up. So I think now we can balance the block number 4 will be in the subsequent session we will be discussing. So okay, now I can close the sessions. Thank you very much. Thank you.